it's Chef and Builder JD Pendleton, and today I'm going to teach you how to wax cheese and how to preserve cheese for up to, well, probably maybe even a little over a year. Remember, this is mild cheddar, so it's going to taste more like a sharp cheddar in about a month or two. And this is Havarti cheese. It tastes a lot like a soft mozzarella cheese with maybe a little bit more of a bite to it. I love Havarti cheese. And so I wanted to be sure and put some of this in my food storage. It's still preserving food. This is something you should learn how to do. So come along while I teach you how to wax cheese. It really is simple. Okay, the first thing you want to start with, and this is what I buy. I just bought one of these large, I believe it's like a 12 by 18 pan, somewhere in that area. Depending on how much cheese, of course, you're going to be doing. And you can layer this in here. You can get those stackable cookie racks and layer them in here. So what I'm going to do here is to get all the oil and all the waters and everything to drain in the bottom and not to touch the cheese. I'm going to get a baking rack that has feet on it here. Make sure you do the plastic coated. This makes it a lot easier. Also helps keep my waxes and things from sticking to the bottom of this pan so that I can reuse it as well. So just a little tip with that. So first thing we're going to start with is we're going to start with the cheese that I had bought in bulk for my daughter's graduation party. Now instead of buying, you know, a couple pounds of cheese for her party, I just bought one big block at the deli. I made sure to check the date. This was a sell by January 5th date. So I need to get this in cheese wax. I need to get this coated. I'm going to set this aside and read the instructions or anything about it because I might want to keep something on that. I might want to label some of these. So now my husband cut this off at an angle, so I'm going to cut him off a block of cheese for eating because he really likes this. Sorry, my dishwasher's running. I'm sterilizing my canning jars because I'm canning butter today. And I'll probably go ahead and just pre-cut this in some pieces for him. You could cube this for a pasta salad. There you go. Now what we're going to do here, and I think I got that straightened up somewhat, is I'm going to cut this off, and it doesn't have to be accurate, and I'm going to try to cut this off in about 8-ounce blocks. It's just my husband and I. See? And there you go. Now what you're going to do with this is you're just going to put this into the tray, just like this, and you're just going to sit it down just like that. In fact, you can use gloves if you want to, but I've been washing dishes all day because I've been canning. But if you want to, or if you have any kind of infection or anything on your hand, be sure and wear vinyl gloves. Okay? Try to work smart when you're working around food and you're preserving food. There we go. Now we're just going to continue to cut this up in blocks. And when you get done, you can shred this. You can put this in salads. You can chunk this in pastas, like I said. But we're going to let this sit here like this and air dry for about 48 hours. Now, if you have a larger family, of course, you can cut off some bigger chunks. But this is what I like, and I don't get as much oil coming out of it if I dry it in smaller chunks. Or you can vary the sizes of your chunks that you're cutting. And then just kind of choose from what size that you need. Like this right here, I might cut a little thicker. You don't have to be perfect. I mean, we're not selling this at the deli, so I mean, we don't have to be perfect with it. Now you're asking how much a block of cheese like this cost. This block of cheese was $5.98 a pound. And remember, that's supposed to go up, so it's not bad. It was 4.03 pounds, so it's 4 pounds, 3 ounces. And it was $24.10. I'm just going to cover this up with a couple pieces of paper towel. And then we're going to find a way to stack our next row on here like this. Thank you. I got me a fresh paper towel. I wanted some sterile paper towel, so. Oops. Alright, so this is all you do. You just cover it with a little bit of paper towel. That keeps the gnats and things off of it. Just a thin layer, that's fine. ought to do it right there. Make sure the air can still get in and around it. Now for the next layer. Just like that right there. Take the little piece. There we go. Alright. Alright, now we're going to do the same thing for the Havarti cheese. You can do this with pretty much any brand of cheese that I can think of. Now Havarti cheese kind of has like a little bit of a wax layer feeling kind of on it. Maybe it's just the way the cheese, I think it's just the way the cheesecloth was on it, but I think they put a mold inhibitor on the Havarti. I can kind of see it. Oh my gosh, that smells so good. Look at the texture on that Havarti cheese. It melts like a mozzarella, maybe even a little better. It's great in lasagna, any kind of pizza pasta. It's great on sandwiches, hoagies, you name it. I love this stuff. Slicing it thin, yeah, this is good stuff. It's a cross between mozzarella and a very mild cheddar.
It's good.
But it's got just a little bit of a bite to it. I can't even explain what I think it tastes like. That is so good. The weight on the Havarti cheese was 4 pounds, 12 ounces. It was $6.98 a pound, so it's $1 more a pound than the cheddar. And it came to $28.76 for a 4 1/4 pound. Now, I'm not going to cut this into as big as blocks. Get it right here. Try to cut it as straight as I can. Oh, there we go. That was a nice straight cut. Now that's a nice big block of Havarti. Might be a little bit too big. And if you'd like, on the Havarti cheese, what I like to do is I like to cut for sandwich layers like that right there. My husband's over here eating cheese and crackers. Cheater. Cheetah. Okay. You're handing me a cheese and cracker. Who could resist? Or a little. Now again, I'm gonna kind of brush off any loose pieces here. Got a little bit of cheddar on my knife on here. All right, kind of separate them a little bit so that they'll dry separately here. And we're just gonna put another layer of sterile towel on it, just like that right there. There you go. We want the air to get to them. Now it's kind of open on the sides there. Tear a piece down the middle, just like this. Fold it in half, cut it down the middle like this. Open this up like this. Get my length here. And I'm just gonna kind of tuck, just like that right there. Matter of fact, I can probably do it like this, probably a little bit better. There we go. This will just help to ensure that I don't get anything that shouldn't be in here. It'll also help let this dry. Just in case a breeze comes along, I want to make sure. Get a nice tuck just like that. You know, you can do any kind of cheese you like, any kind of hard or a semi-hard cheese, like mozzarella, anything. Mozzarella almost tastes like a mild cheddar when you do mozzarella. So, and like I said, this Havarti cheese already has almost a mild cheddar taste to it. So it's going to be interesting. I've never waxed Havarti cheese, so it's going to be it's going to be a surprise, whatever it tastes like. Okay, so now we're just going to take this and we're going to put this away from the dishwasher. You can feel the steam coming off my dishwasher here because, like I said, I'm sterilizing my jars for canning today. But we are going to be back. We are canning cream cheese, butter, and I'm going to show you how the Amish do it because that's my side of the family. And I think you're going to see that I have my own unique ways of storing food and even waxing cheese. The Amish wax cheese. This is how, of course, they wax it. You'll see that a lot of Amish will also sell their cheese. So, I mean, this is something you could do, make yourself if you have a cow or a goat. and you could make your own cheeses. I show you in some of my videos on my YouTube channel how to make cheese. Matter of fact, go here and I'll link you to how to make farmer's cheese. Okay. Okay, so here we have it, and we're just going to leave it here for 48 hours. Okay, that's 2 days, and we will see you back here then. This is Chef and Builder Janie Pendleton. We're back. It's been 48 hours since we've sliced our cheese, and about 12 to 24 hours into that 48-hour period of time that your cheese is set in a cool, dark place drying, we give the cheese a flip and get the oil side of that dry as well. Now it's been 48 hours later. All right, so what you're going to want to start is you're going to uncover your cheese here. Okay, and what we have here is we have cheese that is still somewhat soft, but it's not too dried out because we covered this up. And you can still feel the oil there's still a little bit of oil there. It's leaked a little bit of oil, but this is ready for waxing. What we're going to do here is we're going to use a little bit of vinegar, okay? And we're going to pour that into a low flat bowl. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to take our cheese just like this. It's a little dry on the edges. That's fine because we're going to end up grating this and eating this or slicing this anyway. And we're just going to quickly put it in what, remember, don't use apple cider vinegar because that will give your cheese an odd flavor. Just go ahead and put it like this and sit it here to dry on another container. And again, we're just gonna, this would be a nice mold inhibitor. We're gonna cut that out. If you see any places or anything like that, just trim it off. And we're just gonna let this sit in here, just like this, for about an hour. And then we're going to come back and we're going to wax this cheese. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that in my little secret in just a minute. And we're going to do the same thing with the yellow cheese. We're just going to look it all over, brush off any little pieces there. And we're just going to roll it here in the white vinegar. And we're just going to sit it here on the tray to dry. Any pieces it looks like, maybe even if it already started to mold, I don't know, just get rid of all of that. I don't have that problem. I'm just going to keep going here. Okay, so here is my little secret that I'm going to let you in on. Okay, my little secret. It is a very inexpensive fryer. You need to be sure and get one that has the offsetting, that has a temperature setting, and you'll hear it click on. You hear the little click there? So when it clicks there, you know that the unit turned on at a minimum heat. Because we, of course, don't want to fry our wax at a high temperature setting. Be very, very careful because cheese wax is very highly flammable. Very highly flammable, and it's more pliable. Trust me, you can't use paraffin wax for this, okay? This is actual cheese wax. It comes in yellow, black, red. I choose red every year. You can even save this if you like and wash it off your cheese and put it back into the fryer if you like. Just be sure and get a pot, a double boiler. If you're going to use a pot, use a double boiler. And remember, this gets very, very hot. And when I'm melting wax, if it allows you to, leave the lid open. You can rewire this so it will let you. But just be sure and keep an eye on it. Make sure you melt the wax at a very low, slow temperature. And you'll probably be melting the wax at probably somewhere around 180 to 200 degrees. So keep an eye on this little temperature right here, okay? And make sure that your wax is in here and it's chunked in here because my unit here knows if there's oil in here or not. That way it doesn't run itself dry. It has a safety feature. So be sure and put your wax in here. And what you want to do, and I use this just for this. This was like $12 at Big Lots. Okay, that's it. All right, and I'll set this here so you can continue to see it. Or you can do it in a double boiler. That's entirely up to you. And you can put it on with a brush, or you can dip it. For cheeses of this size right here, of course, I'm going to dip.
Now what we're going to do is just take a piece of paper towel here, and we're just going to blot off the vinegar. Just a little bit. That'll help it dry a little quicker. This is sat on here for probably about 20 minutes. And that's all you need, just 20 minutes of it. There we go. You can give that a flip now, and we can kind of blot off the other side as well. Okay? And when we are done doing that, we will be right back.
Now, while our cheese is drying, I just want to kind of go over again about the cheese wax. You just want to take a sharp knife and be very, very careful. Keep your fingers up like this, because you can hit a soft spot here, just like that right there. I'm going to cut this off in strips, and you just want to cut this in cubes, about like that. And we're just going to throw that into our fryer or into our pan or double boiler. And what you want to do is you want to use a cheap pan, because trust me, you're not going to get all this out of a pan. Be sure and find an old pan at a garage sale or a rummage sale somewhere. Grandma had an old pan, you didn't know what to do with it, now you know what you can do with it. Now, let's talk about the wax for a minute. Like I said, cheese wax is it's formulated to provide resistance against mold growth and further aerobic type ripening of cheese as well. You know, especially as it's drying out, you know, keeps it from drying out, you know, like where you get a little bit of the hard cheese, hard edges there. That helps with that. And this particular wax, by the way, is formulated so it doesn't become brittle over time, crack, break, and ruin your protected food storage. And that is always a good thing. Like I said, it's got an inhibitor in it already. So like I said, cheese wax itself is an art. I mean, it really is. Now we're just filling this up before we even turn this on, or my machine has to think that it's got something in it, or else it will shut itself off, the safety feature. If you can figure out a way to override that, you can. But remember, this is highly flammable, and we are using a fryer, an oil fryer, which operates at very high temperatures, so it could be very flammable. I have 14-foot ceilings, and this is a metal casing, so I think I should be okay. But again, it has a safety feature. That's another nice thing about this, it does have the safety features. If you decide to disconnect the safety feature, if you know how to do that kind of thing. Now here was a pound of this, and here's another pound. The nice thing about this unit here is it's tall and it's narrow, so as I put my cheese in for dipping, I can get that cheese melted up pretty tall. You know, you want a pan that's tall and narrow that will fit your cheese. Now if you're doing the big round block of cheese, I suggest that you brush it on. It's just a lot better to brush it on. It makes a horrible mess, but it's better for the cheese if you do the big round or the big block of cheese. It's better for the cheese actually to brush it on. But we're just doing, something of this size. So, you know, we can just dip that in. And you don't want to coat it very thick. 2 coats is plenty. And this cheese right here, like I said, is formulated not to crack and break, which releases the oils in the bottom of your pan. Maybe on the bottom shelf of your food storage room, where maybe you have a temperature controlled room. Be sure to make sure your cheese is extremely dry from the vinegar. You know, water and oil don't mix. Water and wax don't mix either. And that's why I patted it dry, and I'm going to let that sit for another 20 minutes. Don't let your cheese sit too long. Don't get talking on the phone and let your cheese dry out too much. Okay. And it looks like to me, we're just going to let a pound of this melt. We're going to see how this does. And you're going to ask me, can you save the wax off the cheese? Yes, you can if you wash it really, really, really well. And I even wipe the cheese down with vinegar and make sure there's no cheese particles left on it. Then you can put it back into the fryer. And here we are. We're gonna go ahead and plug this in.
Okay, now you just want to keep controlling this temperature. I got her tied up so she doesn't ruin my sterile kitchen. But you can see this cheese wax will melt really, really fast in a deep fryer. Do not leave it, whatever you do, okay? Because you're not on a double boiler here. And like I said, this is extremely flammable. And it comes with this little spoon. Most of them do. And you just want to keep here and keep it stirred. And you just want to babysit this until this is nice and melted. Okay? And once this is all melted, we will be right back. All right, this worked perfectly. We still have a little bit of wax in here that's still melting, but that's fine. We still have this deep enough with the 2 pounds of wax. You can see we've got this at about 2.5 inches deep, 2.5 inches deep there. And if it's hot enough, it'll get that wax off this piece right here without sticking. And I would say it's probably at about 200 degrees, probably 180 to 200 degrees, just like they said on the package. This was a new cheese I hadn't tried yet. This one right here had the mold inhibitor in it. Now what we're going to do is we just put our cheese back here on the rack over the top of this, and I laid down a little piece of foil here. I don't know if you can see it, but I laid down a little piece of foil. Let me tip this down so you can see this. See that? And then I just have the cheese here on a rack. It's all dry from the vinegar, but we don't want it to get so dry that it's starting to harden on the edges. We did the same thing here with our Havarti cheese. And now we're just going to go ahead and we're just going to start dipping our wax. Let's see if we can get you where you can see here. But if you see that a piece is still sweating or wet from the vinegar, go ahead and just pat that dry before you put it in. That could keep your wax from sticking, and we don't want that. Just a quick drop in like this, and I'm going to start doing 2 at a time. Remember, this is just the first coat. Like I said, you can kind of lean them on each other, that's fine. Once they start to dry a little bit, it's alright. As long as they don't stick corner to corner, that's fine. And we're just going to keep going just like this. What's nice about the red wax or the black wax is you can see on the yellow what you're doing. If you do yellow wax on yellow, it does make it a little harder for you to see what's going on there. Wiped off a little bit. Remember, make sure that it's not still wet. Make sure you got that all nice and patted dry, and make sure you don't put any cheese in your wax. Don't drop any in there. Make sure all the crumbs are off. And just 2 dips, 2 coats. That's fine. The Havarti cheese, it held on to the wax a lot longer, and now we just have our triangular shaped Havarti. Oops. Remember, if you get a piece of cheese like that on there we go. Just kind of dip it again, there we go. Might be able to get that to stack like that right there. Perfect. Go. Isn't this fun? This is actually a fun project. I guess that's just the way the cheese is made. I want this pretty dry before we, it's still a little wet right there, before we wax it. Now, if you'd like, you can take and you can make little labels for this and stick this on the cheese during the last waxing, and then you can have your cheese labeled. And I think that's a really good idea, but I only did 2 different types of cheese this year, so I pretty much know by the shape what it is that I'll be opening. You can see here how it's coming along. And we're going to dip everything in on the other side, making sure that we come up 1/4 of an inch over the, overlapping, 1/4 of an inch there. And then we're going to give it a second waxing. See that? So I'm doing this clockwise, and then when I start redipping, this will be drier, this will be wetter. And by the time I get back around here again, that should be set up and ready for another dipping. Now we're going to come back over to this side. And we're just going to dip the other side, overlapping just like that. See our 1/4 of an inch overlap right there? And you can get by with probably 1 dipping on this if you wanted to, but I think that this works better, to be honest with you. Well, it's okay, I'll get a couple pieces going here. We'll kind of get these to maybe kind of lean on each other just a little bit. Fried taffy making noises. It's not good. We need to turn that down just a little bit. We can even turn this off for a minute if we have to. That's fine. I don't want this to get too hot, or if it starts smelling hot, that's bad, bad, bad. I'm going to give that a stir. That got a little bit too hot there. Keep an eye on it. You can see my overlap lines. See if you can see that. See that overlap line there? Little 1/4 of an inch overlap. Make sure you got it overlapped all the way around. Turn it up right. There you go. Just remember, wet side is up. It's like building a house of cards here. Okay, now we're going to start redipping again. So we can see by the overlap that this was the last one. Side dipped. So now we're going to start dipping again. Again, we're going to work clockwise, how we set it up. Get the dip side up. And we're just going to keep going like this until we get this all dipped, and we will be right back. Okay, we're back. And this is dried at room temperature for about a half an hour. And what you can do now is you never ever want to stack your cheese on top of each other like this. Even if you're using freezer paper in between, you never want to do that. And I'm going to tell you why. Because the oils from your cheese will go from the top to the bottom. And the nice thing about waxing your cheese and only waxing it with 1 or 2 coats of wax and no more, just a quick dip, you don't want to get this too thick because you do want your cheese to breathe.
And every 2 weeks, you're gonna go out to the refrigerator, even up for a year. I don't care, don't forget about it. Whenever you go to your outdoor refrigerator, give all your cheese a turn. Turn them all over, just like this, every 2 weeks. Now, the reason being is because the oils are gonna drip into the bottom of this, and you'll wanna keep it from drying out and let the oils come back through the other side of the cheese, okay? And this is another reason why you want your cheese to dry out 2 or 3 days before you wax it. And remember, I just dipped it in the vinegar and patted it dry after about 20 minutes. That was a nice, or brush it with a mold inhibitor. This cheese itself has a mold inhibitor built into it. Do not use crayons or paraffin wax. That's really not what you want to use. You want to use something that has the mold inhibitor built in. So just go ahead and spend the $7 and get yourself 2 or 3 pounds of cheese wax. And I got this off eBay. There's some good companies out there. Go check them out. All right, so what you're gonna do now, there's 2 ways to store this cheese. You can, get yourself a plastic covered container, an open container. This has to breathe. You do not want to just put the lid on it, because this has to breathe. So they actually make cheese making plastic containers that has air holes in it that lets the air flow. Or you can just leave it open like this and put a rack in the bottom that's, make sure it's Teflon coated so it doesn't, get anything on here. Make sure that this is clean. I've sterilized my rack here before I got started. And you can just store this in the refrigerator just like this. That right there is fine. And then, like I said, go in there every 2 or 3 weeks and just give your cheese a turn. And this cheese like this can last indefinitely. But like I said, this would be gone before 6 months or a year anyway, okay? Now, what you never want to do is you never want to store 2 different types of cheeses. Here's my cheddar, mild cheddar. Here's my Havarti. You never want to store 2 types of cheeses together on top of each other like this. Or else you can have, especially if you didn't wax it, even wax it, doesn't matter, because you don't want the different type of bacteria that make different types of cheese to cross-contaminate each other. But you can store them upright like this. Okay? You can see that. That right there is fine. And this is how I'm choosing to store my cheese today. I'm just going to keep my cheddars here divided from my Havartis, just like this. And the bottom of this pan has like raised, if you can see it here, the bottom of this pan has some raised grooves here that will catch any oil or liquids. And keep that away from my cheese. And I'm just going to store it just like this right here, upright. Okay? Now you want to keep your cheese at about 53 to 55 degrees. Now most refrigerators have a vegetable keeper or a produce bin. That's the perfect bin for your cheese, okay? No other part of the refrigerator. Or in a basement, in a cool, dry place in a basement. But I keep a little refrigerated thermometer that just hangs from a shelf, and I keep that in the bin with my cheese. And I make sure that my cheese stays at about 53 to 55 degrees. And if I have to adjust my refrigerator, I can, because my eggs don't always have to be, anything that I keep in the outdoor refrigerator would be anything that I could adapt to make sure that I don't lose my cheese. Because this is quite the investment. I mean, I've got probably over $50 in cheese here. Now, I know we ate some of it. We probably ate about this much of the cheese off the cheese blocks, or I would have had a lot more. But just like this right here, you want to make sure that the cheeses are separated. Make sure that they can breathe. And this, stacking them like this right here, allows, so that way they've got some air coming through here, but it also helps them to let the air flow through, to help them to breathe. See, the little air can get through there. And that's the little ridges, that works for that as well. So that's the best way to store your cheese. Now let me show you something that you can do. If you have some variety of cheeses here, like I said, I cut the Havarti cheese in a triangle shape, so I knew that it was Havarti. And I knew that this is a cheddar because I cut it in this shape. But if you've got 2 different types of cheddar, because this is going to end up tasting like a sharp cheddar in a couple of weeks anyway. But if you've got 2 different types of cheddar, all you have to do is take the labels, those washable food grade labels that come with your canning jars, okay, or any other kind of label you want. These are the ones I prefer. And you just want to write on here, There we go. And I'm going to put the date on here. It's 12/21/13. Now I'm just going to take on my cheddar, especially if it's going to be gifts, and you can just stick it on like this right here. Now, in the refrigerator, these labels, yeah, it sticks pretty good. I can't get that off. But if you feel that you want to, you can take a little bit of wax and you can put a drop of wax on here. As a matter of fact, I even have a family crest. And what I can do is I can drop a little bit of wax here or somewhere along here, and I can put my family crest signet ring. Just like that. And I can press it in the wax. Now, I didn't do it this time, but you can do it. Just like you're mailing a letter. You can put on just a couple of drops of wax, put your ring in. But I really like this method and just writing the date that I put it in there. So I really hope this helps. And I'll probably separate this video, so I've got a how to store wax cheese video as well. And if you have any questions, be sure and just leave a comment below. And I'm going to leave a link here on how to wax your cheese. Okay? So this is chef and builder Janie Pendleton. Cheese. Don't you just love cheese? I could just eat this whole thing up right now. I just love cheese. And what a beautiful Valentine's Day present this would make. I mean, wouldn't that make a great Valentine's Day gift? You could even cut your cheese out in a little shape of a heart. Oh my God, I'm getting ideas. I better go before I do any more cheese waxing and go insane. Blessings.